Hello, I'm Marilee Rosine Beasley, and I want to share with you one of my favorite things to do. It's making eggs, and usually they're at Christmas out of chicken eggs. These are out of real chicken eggs. Chicken eggs are very plentiful, and they are not very expensive, and if something goes wrong, you're not at a loss for a lot of money. Anyway, what I like to do is buy white chicken eggs, and I like to buy good quality eggs. I think the shells are probably better. So what I do is I decide that I'm going to have some maybe scrambled eggs, and I will take a little thing like this or a little knife, and I will poke around and start a hole. And then I will take the egg out, save it for scrambled eggs. Then I will set this aside, come back later, and I will wash this out with soap and water. I want to be sure they're very clean. All right, so after they're dry, then I will maybe have a few that I've collected. Now, one thing that is helpful is to go ahead and maybe put a little bit of glue that helps hold it, and while I cut with these scissors. And I believe one of the things that's very helpful if you have a really great pair of scissors, just regular fingernail scissors will be helpful. So then I take my time, and it doesn't have to be perfect when you do this. I just take my time and do it. Okay, so then what I do after I have that completed is I will be sure and gently take off the glue. Okay, and then my next step after this is all clean and dry, is I will melt a little bit of wax very carefully, because wax can be dangerous. So then what I do is I will take the melted wax, and I will gently put wax inside of here, very gently, and while the wax, before it has dried, I will roll it around a little bit, and I will sprinkle some glitter inside of some sort. In this case, what I did is, I hope you can see this glitter, a little bit of glitter. You can do however you want. You don't have to use something like this white. You could use something else. And these are just different products that you can buy. I bought glitter at Hobby Lobby, I bought glitter at Michael's, and so forth. So anyway, you can see there's a little bit of glitter. The other thing I like to do is I like to build up this bottom area a little bit with the wax. And while it is still, while the wax is still a little bit, hasn't dried yet, then what I like to do is I like to decide that I'm going to put something inside of the egg. And I will take something like this. These kinds of things come out before Christmas. I found packages with a lot of really interesting things at places like Michael's and Hobby Lobby. So I will snip off that top. And then while this is drying, I will place this snowman and into that little spot and let it dry in place. That's one way to do it. Might even be better to put a little bit of this glue and do both. Okay, after that's done, I'm going to show you an example of one that was done with a little snowman. Now this one, the person who made it went ahead and didn't do anything else. They didn't paint it. They just left it that pretty white. And this right here is caulking, a caulk like you get at Home Depot, at Lowe's, and they very carefully made it look a little bit like snow. They went ahead, they put a little bit of snow, or the caulk, to make it look like snow, and did this, and a little bit of blue, and some, it looks like maybe a little bit of white, and some white in there, and let it dry. And I think this is very, very attractive, what they did with this. Now what you could do possibly is get a thing that you could let it sit on, and it's pretty easy to find some of those items. You can even take something and sort of make one yourself. So this is one idea. This is a simple idea, and this one is done. Now, to show you further some ideas, because I'm always looking for ideas, since we are in spring, here's a little bunny rabbit that somehow I acquired. This one has a little tiny wire thing right here, and if I can, if it's possible, I would do my best to either take it out or bend it over. Now, this is a little Santa. This is a nice little Santa. It's and I always, when I make these, I do my best to kind of look for items to go inside that kind of lend themselves to about the size of the egg. Here's another one that is spring, a little bunny. This one, I would do the same thing. I would take this little ring out, see if I could get rid of it, and then do the same process of when it's melting, or I'm sorry, after it melts and it starts hardening. Make sure that you've got this little bunny in the right spot and let it sit there until it's secure. Now, one of the things that I really like to do, and I'm just going to introduce you to the concept, is I really like to cover eggs in velvet. And what I have found, and it took me a while to figure it out, is that if I take velvet and I make a strip and an oval, I cut it on the bias. It doesn't have to be perfect, because what happens is that you gently put the strip on, and then you put the oval on. They don't even have to be perfect. What you do after they dry, and you want to make sure that you're really careful to keep your hands clean. So what you want to do is make sure that you have a cloth nearby. And so what you're doing is, after you're done, is you take some trim and you go ahead and figure out approximately how much trim that you need on the back and on the front. And most of the time you can kind of cover up most of those little areas that you might see. So you want to be as careful as you can. Now, this particular one, what I did is I put a little bit of the wax and sprinkled a little tiny bit of glitter inside. And then what I'm going to do is carefully melt some more wax, and I will put this angel inside and I'll let it build up a little bit so that it is more flat with this opening. Now, this one also has a little thing on top, and then I also have some gold thread here that I can use to hang it on the tree. So anyway, what I want to do is just introduce this idea. It's a little more involved, and I will do another video later to show you the details of how I would actually do the velvet. So these are just some ideas for you to get started, and I hope that you will start looking at these supplies. The things that I do, I also have painted. You can paint the outside of the egg a certain color. Something like this, I think I bought somewhere, either at Hobby Lobby or maybe this is at Dollar Tree. I have a lot of different paints that I've collected. One tip that I have is, I think I want to recommend that you always put your glue in a Ziploc bag. That way you will have a better chance of keeping this, it won't dry out. Another tip is to take a straight pin with a little ball on top, put this down in there, and so when you come back later, it should not be dried out. So that will help you keep your glue longer. Also, you might want to consider keeping your paints inside of a big Ziploc bag or a container where you can put the lid on. I've noticed that some of these, it's so easy for them to be dried out. So I just wanted to show you that from time to time I do go to places like Hobby Lobby or Joann's, wherever they sell fabric, and I'll get like about maybe 1/4 of a yard, maybe or less, and then use that. So anyway, these are some things that I wanted to share so that you would have an idea of this activity that you could do. I have had a lot of pleasure over the years sharing these eggs with others. I usually give the nicest ones away to others and keep one or two for myself. And anyway, I've been doing off and on these eggs since I think I was in high school when I first saw them and just fell in love with the idea. So I'm sharing this with you. Thank you and have a blessed day.